What's going on YouTube? This is Rybo at the bench, and today I have another cut or carry knife review. Today looking at a really interesting knife, the ABKT, have to say that slowly because I always mess it up, ABKT Grunt. That's the American Buffalo Knife and Tool Grunt. So this is a really interesting little knife, fairly small. Hopefully you can tell that. I'll do a size comparison in a second. But I saw one of these a while back and thought it was just super cool. As you know from watching the channel, I'm pretty into budget knives. I love the kind of cleaver, sheep's foot style blades. There's just something about those that I really like. And so I figured, why not? For 20 bucks, $22, something like that, why not give it a shot? So there you go. Let's do some size comparison. Actually, let's do baseline measurements first. So sharpened blade length, you're looking at 2.44 inches. If we look at this guy closed in the pocket, we are looking at 3.32 inches. And if we look at the thickness of this, I'm gonna guess this is over a ½ inch thick. Let me see if I can get a good, that's probably, 0.55. Let me make sure that that's accurate. 0.56, yeah, so a little bit thicker, just because you have that kind of rounded handle there. G10, you have 8CR13 MOV. Any other measurements? Let me do, let's see, 0.1 inch, so that would be 2.6 millimeters. So there you go. So nice little size knife. And let's do some size comparisons. Obviously, I've done a comparison of these before, a head-to-head video. Compares very well. This is the CRKT Pilar or something. Let's see, the Dragonfly, which is a pretty obvious comparison as well, and compares fairly well to this. The Chaparral, because why not? And then just larger knife size comparison, the Dozier. Dozier, one of my favorite knives. Oh man, I like this knife more and more every day. All right, and then let's do a weight check on this guy. Fairly light knife for what it is. You do have full liners in there, which is a little bit different than some of the knives you'll see, but still fairly lightweight, 2.7 ounces, so under 3 ounces, which is great. All right, so what do I like about the ABKT Grunt? A lot of things. It's a very interesting knife. It is really straightforward. I don't think it's trying to do too much. I think that one of the things that was a very pleasant surprise to me was how nice of a slicer this was. The first day I got this, I pulled it out of the package, kind of did some test cuts, stuck it in my pocket. And I actually ended up having like a baguette, loaf of bread that I was trying to help my wife prepare dinner. I'm a terrible cook, so I was just doing what she told me to. But I had to cut some of it, so I just grabbed this out and sliced through it. And one push of the knife, and this little guy just sliced cleanly through it, no tears, no anything. That was really, really impressive. Just right off the bat. That very nice, I guess that hollow grind there, but really, really nice. It is cut a lot better than I expected. I mean, I expected a nice slicer, but honestly, it's probably cut a little bit better than this in some circumstances. This one, you have, I think, more of a flat grind there, but enough of those comparisons. I've already done a video, but this one is cut very well in some circumstances. Obviously, it's not going to do everything for you, but it is handled very well and surprisingly well. Other things I really like about this knife, the action. The action is surprisingly good. I mean, again, this is a $20 flipper, and there are a lot of companies that can't do flippers for twice that. I mean, there are a lot of companies, knives that I've reviewed that just can't get the flipper down, and especially at this price point, that's really impressive. So, I mean, it's not going to win any awards. It's not like, amazing or anything like that, but it is very, very reliable. I think it has a very nice balance of blade to handle. The thickness of the blade is just about right. And so it deploys, very consistently. I can probably fail it if I want to. Yeah, I can definitely fail it if I want to. But in practice, it's excellent. The other thing on the flipper is the flipper tab here is really nice. I don't have yeah, don't have any other knives to show a comparison, but the size of the flipper, you know, the amount of material here, and also just the way that it's hidden, means that in the pocket, this is not going to be an issue at all. I've had no issues. I don't think I've ever bumped against it like that. It's got some jimping up here, which is nice. Some jimping up top might be, you know, something nice, but honestly, I haven't really noticed that. So the action is very nice. The blade is very nice. It's a good slicer. Another thing I like, the G10 handles. It's something that you do not get on a lot of knives in this price point. It's a thing, honestly, you don't get at knives at twice this price point. And so that is a really cool thing. I mean, there are, you know, most certainly some other corners cut, but excuse me, but the handles are not one of them. And so you can see this cool, you know, texturing effect you get from the curving and the molding or shaping that they did on the handles of these. And so because you get the different layers of G10 exposed at different widths as you're doing that shaping, you get this really cool varied effect, which is really nice. I think it looks, you know, it doesn't look uniform, which is something that's always really cool in a, you know, manufactured and cheaply made knife like this. So that's really cool. Apparently I'm having throat issues, so sorry about that. All right, what else do I like? Text on the blades, really nice. I really actually like, man, that is a dirty blade, isn't it? Let's try this. I did throw some frog lube on this before in an attempt to kind of clean it up. I like the logo there. Let me see if I can get that in focus. I mean, it's you know, it looks kind of like the CAPTCHA logo on the internet, but you know, I think it's kind of cool. It's a little bit different, you know, whatever, but not too much going on the blade. So that's not a bad thing. All right, anything else? I think just aesthetically, I like the knife. It's really cool. It's got this this kind of, I don't know, this yin yang thing going on. I just like the curves. I like the way this knife looks a lot. I mean, that's why I bought it. And I like it in the pocket, honestly. I mean, you know, with something like the Dragonfly here, I've said before many times, I don't use the pocket clip on the Dragonfly. I don't think it makes sense considering the thinness and just how lightweight this is. I think this is less than half the weight of this. This is not a heavy knife. So this one I don't believe using the pocket clip. This one I definitely do. I can't imagine not using the pocket clip on this just because, you know, it's over 1/2 inch thick, and I don't think that it would do well at the bottom of the pocket. It's just too rounded. You have a lot of that blade, not a lot of the blade exposed, but I don't know, it just doesn't work to me. Plus you have the flipper there, which just makes it a little bit awkward. So I definitely think this needs a pocket clip. I don't think a deep carry is necessary on something like this. You know, I don't know, it just doesn't fit the kind of ethos of the knife to me. And so, you know, I think that's just fine. The carry's fine. The pocket clip is fine. You know, it's kind of my merging from things I like to things I don't like. Pocket clip would be right there in the middle. So it is absolutely a corner cut. It's, you know, just a basic pocket clip. You know, but it's done a lot better than, honestly, a lot of pocket clips on budget knives. You don't have any texture down here to speak of. It's not too tight. It is a little bit tight. So, I mean, if I had one complaint, it would be that it's a little bit too tight, so where you have a little bit of trouble getting it out of the pocket if you're not wearing, you know, like denim or something like that. But besides that, I mean, it accomplishes, you know, exactly what it's going to do. It gives you, you know, a good little bit of, you know, handle material grab on there. It fits in just fine. I don't have any problem catching that lip right there. And it's a nice ramp, so not too shallow. So pocket clip is, you know, kind of one of those like, meh, you know, it's totally functional, which I guess that would describe a lot of aspects of this knife. All right, things that I don't like about this knife. So I said I like the action. Here's the thing. If you have not been able to tell by now, this is not a Spyderco. This is an ABKT. And so for a non-Spyderco blade to have a hole in the handle is kind of weird, right? So this is the detent ball hole. I guess that, I don't know, you know, I'm not great with official terms, but I believe that's what it is. You can see the track right there. And again, I did throw some lube on this guy, so let me try to wipe that down and show you this. But you have the hole there, and then you have the track right there. You can see where the detent ball has been grinding away at that material. Maybe I can show this. So you have the detent ball right there. And yeah, I mean, that doesn't really show you anything. But just take my word for it. Just super weird for it to be exposed. I mean, especially when you look at the way that this handle is shaped, would have been no issue at all to just, you know, continue the handle and the spacers there. I mean, the liners there, excuse me, to cover that. I mean, that's how most knives do it. It's just a little bit tacky. It kind of shows lack of forethought, and you know, whatever. It's not super ugly. I guess functionally it does give you the issue that over time dirt and grime can get in there. You can always take the knife apart, I guess, and clean it up, although that looks like a free spinning pivot, which isn't great. These look okay, but yeah, I haven't tried to take it apart yet. I will try that. But you can get some dirt and grime stuck in there, which isn't great. And so over time, yes, you could have issues with, you know, how well the knife closes, which I guess could lead to just falling open. I don't know. That's all hypothetical, but that is the issue that you have when you expose that right there. So not great. Other things that aren't great, the ergonomics aren't very good. Honestly, that's probably the most disappointing thing to me about the knife. If you look at the handle, you do have kind of a finger choil here, although it's shaped a little bit odd. Let me see if I can get it. Yeah, so I mean, you can actually see that the two scales are not uniform, or they're not symmetrical. So you can see you just have one sweep here, one gradual curve. And then here you have this kind of finger cut out. Looks like some material wasn't taken away there and some right there. You know, $20 knife, some corners are cut. You know, this is not, the fit and finish is definitely not there on this knife. But honestly, even if those things were uniform, you know, again, I'm going to compare to this. The ergonomics are here on the Pilar because you have that forward finger choil. That's where your hand wants to fall. Honestly, when you pick up this knife, that's where your hand wants to fall, right there. But, you know, that is sharpened blade length right there, or almost all the way down. And so that's an issue. You can't really choke up. So when I'm holding the knife, you know, and I have, I guess, somewhat large hands, when I'm holding the knife back here, it feels a little bit awkward. I end up kind of doing cuts like this, or using the knife like this, almost like a pinch grip or something. This is just not, I don't know, not very natural to me. And so for a small knife, you do want something like this, where the ergos just allow your hand to really get a good grip on the knife. This to me is not a confident grip, and so I just don't end up using it. So ergonomics definitely, you know, is one of the kind of disappointing things of the knife. What else? Small complaint. It is a little bit cheap sounding. I mean, you have full liners there. You do have them kind of milled out a little bit, but you know, you don't, the fit and finish, like I said, isn't there. You've got, you know, kind of inconsistent between the, I don't know, the roundedness of some of the edges and that kind of thing. Just the way that things go together. These liners look fairly cheap. They sound pretty cheap. I don't know if you can hear that. Sounds kind of tinny, you know, not great. Kind of same issue I had with the backlash. But, you know, not a big complaint to me at all. I mean, with the action that is so good and the disengage that's so good, I will take that sound and that kind of cheap feel any day with an action like that, especially for a $20 knife. So no problem there at all. All right, and then one final thing, and this is, oh man, so I've debated saying something about this in the review. In fact, it's the second time I've filmed this review, because the first time I harped on it a little bit too much. I thought it was unfair. I went back, cleaned up the knife, thought about it for another couple days, and then I'm re-recording this now. But I do think I want to call it out because it is something that I've noticed, and it is something that concerns me. So let me do this. So this is a little like burlap kind of cleaning cloth, whatever. So I'm just going to scrub this knife down real good. Keep in mind, I used this knife for a couple weeks, cutting some food, really just like bread and stuff like that. I don't remember cutting like, I don't know, like any fruits or anything like that. I used it for just EDC tasks, cutting open boxes, packages, stuff like that. And then it's been stored inside the whole time. So climate controlled. And then the other day I sprayed it down with frog glue and kind of cleaned up the blade, got some down in the pivot. just to see if it was a figment of my imagination. And it wasn't, it kind of was, and it really wasn't. So one of the things that I've noticed on this blade, and this is a new knife, and hopefully you can see it up here, but these appear to me to be some rust spots. And not just some, but a lot of rust spots. Very small, and I don't even know if I can get them in the camera. To you, it may just look like dirt, and obviously, you know, this down here is dirt, and as try as I might, the cloth is just leaving as much as it's taking away. But down here at the tip of the blade, and I think you have it over here too, not as much over here. You have a little bit down here. But it's fairly heavy up here, and I apologize that the camera probably can't get that, but that is, I believe, rust. And this is 8CR13 MOV. Sorry, my box just fell over. I've never seen that before on another blade. I've mentioned I had some rust issues with CTS XHP. You know, I don't think that's uncommon on that steel, but I've never seen that with 8CR13 MOV. At least, you know, especially not something so new and basically not used like this. And so it's something I'll be monitoring in the future, but it does give me a little bit of concern. Hopefully it's nothing, but I think it's something. And so that's not great to see a brand new knife that's already rusting. So I'm not sure like where they get their steel, or you know, if that's just a quality issue or whatever, or maybe the blade just stains really bad. I have noticed it picks up stuff, but usually you know, frog lube or some kind of cleaner will just take that right off, no problem. But it did not do that. It did take down. It was, you know, much more pronounced. If I were to post the original video I recorded, it was much more pronounced, but you know, so it did take it down, but that really concerns me. So all right, so that's the bad. Final conclusion on this guy for cut or carry. So I really like this knife. I'm glad I bought it. I am glad that I tried it out. I like the blade shape. I think it slices excellently. It is a knife that I keep reaching for just to kind of play with, because the flipper action is you know, very good for the knife that you get and for the size of the flipper. So no complaints there. It's a fun little knife. It is, I think, an excellent value for $20. Absolutely. I mean, the Pilar, for example, I think is like 25 or 30, twice as heavy. Definitely some downsides, but also some upsides. For everything that this guy packs out, and the G10 is a huge win to me. I love seeing that on a knife this price point. But you know, for two reasons, this knife is going to be a cut for me. One, the ergonomics. It is just not, it just doesn't fall into hand like the Pilar does. And so for that reason, I think over time, I'm just not going to, you know, find myself using it quite as much. And then two, the rust issue. Now, that's not really a reason that I would cut it from my collection. I would actually kind of like to see how that develops. But, you know, that combined with the ergonomics, it's just not one that's going to be staying in my collection, although it is very cool. So, I mean, I would still, you know, I would suggest not paying over $20 for it. I don't think it's really worth that much more. This is a knife that I think with a couple of improvements could be an excellent knife. But the ergonomics is probably the biggest one to me. So hope you enjoyed it. Sorry this video is a little bit long. I did a take two and ended up rambling a little bit more. But there you go. All right, thanks everybody. See you later.